Before we start, take a deep breath and stay with me till the very end, because the final tribute will bring all the castaways back together in a way you won't want to miss. If you ever smiled at a coconut radio, sang along to the theme song, or rooted for rescue that never came, this is your moment. Tonight we honor the hearts behind the laughter. We'll remember the skipper, Gilligan, the millionaire and his wife, the professor, and Mary and, plus unforgettable guest stars who turned a tiny island into a world we still love. Keep watching to the last second, because the closing message is for you, the fans who kept this ship sailing for generations. Here is the simple promise of this video. A clear, warm tribute to every main actor from Gilligan's Island who has passed away, with gentle stories and real-life notes that show who they were when the cameras stopped. We will talk about Hale Jr., Bob Denver, Jim Backus, Natalie Schafer, Russell Johnson, and Dawn Wells. We will also remember treasured guests like Phil Silvers and Vito Scotti, who dropped in, stirred up chaos, and left us smiling long after the credits rolled. No heavy words, no guesswork, just a soft, honest look back at lives that touched millions. Let's begin with the captain who held the show together like a strong rope, Hale Jr., our skipper. He gave Jonas Grummy a booming voice, a quick temper that hit a big heart, and a steady love for his crew. He wasn't just acting tough, he had served in the Coast Guard and carried himself like a man who knew the sea. Fans still talk about his off-screen kindness. He owned a seafood restaurant in Los Angeles and often greeted diners as the skipper, hat and all, because he knew that's who they had come to see. In January 1990, he died after a fight with cancer, and his ashes were scattered in the Pacific. One last sail into the water that shaped his most famous role. If you ever felt safe when the skipper stepped in, that feeling came from the man himself, not only the script. Now think of that red shirt, the white sailor cap, and a grin that could turn a disaster into a gag. Bob Denver, our Gilligan. He brought wide-eyed, childlike hope to a hopeless spot on the map. Before the island, he had worked everyday jobs, tried the stage, and played Maynard G. Krebs on another show, but Gilligan made him a legend. He was clumsy on screen, but brave at heart, always risking his own safety to help his friends. Off-screen, he gave back to communities, did theater, and ran a small radio station with his wife. In 2005, he died from complications after cancer treatment. Even now, when the theme song plays, we don't hear notes. We see him waving, slipping, smiling, and standing back up. That's why Gilligan still lives in reruns and in our memories, because Bob Denver played him with simple love. Every island needs a millionaire, and Jim Backus made Thurston Howell 3 more than a joke. He was funny, yes, but he was also weirdly warm, the kind of rich man who would sulk like a boy and hug like a grandpa. You may also know his famous voice. He was Mr. Magoo, the near-blind cartoon gentleman with the unforgettable tone. Backus had a deep career before the island, from radio to films like Rebel Without a Cause, and he kept working even as illness tightened its grip. He died in 1989 from complications of pneumonia after living with Parkinson's disease. When you hear that lazy, careful drawl, you don't just remember a character. You remember a time when comedy could be light and still be kind. By his side, always polished and always loyal, stood Lovey Howell, played with silky charm by Natalie Schafer. On the show she wore pearls, floated through scenes, and made luxury feel like a soft joke, but in real life she was a worker and a planner. She invested in property, built a sound financial life, and stayed private even as the island took over TV. She once took the job thinking it meant a quick trip to Hawaii, and it became the role of a lifetime. She gave generously to support aging actors and care homes, and when she died in 1991 from liver cancer, much of her estate helped people in the industry who needed it. When we picture Lovey with a martini and a bright smile, we're really seeing an artist who knew how to make lightness look easy. Now, the character who kept hope alive with brains and calm hands, Russell Johnson, the professor. In the story, he could turn bamboo into anything: water filters, battery packs, even a way to send a radio signal that somehow never quite led to rescue. In real life, he had courage to match the character. He flew combat missions as a bombardier in World War II, survived a crash, and came home with a Purple Heart. Later he became the gentle mind of the island, the man who thought before he spoke and fixed things when others gave up. He lost a son to AIDS and used his quiet voice to raise awareness and compassion. He died in 2014 from kidney failure, but his steady tone still rings in every line he delivered. The professor was never just a gag. He was the grown-up we all wanted around when things got hard. And then there was the heart of the island, Mary, and Dawn Wells played her with warmth that felt like home. Ginghams, pigtails, and a smile that said, "We'll figure this out together." She won Miss Nevada, left pre-med studies for the stage, and carried her kindness into life after the series. She taught young actors, wrote about simple life lessons, and stayed close to fans who loved her since their first after-school reruns. In 2020, she died from COVID-19 complications, and it felt like losing a friend we all knew. People still argue over Ginger or Mary, but truth be told, you don't have to choose. Ginger brought sparkle, Mary brought comfort. Dawn Wells gave us the comfort we needed. The island did not only belong to the Seven, it drew a parade of scene-stealing guests, and a few deserve a special bow. Phil Silvers, famous for Sergeant Bilko, flew in as the loud, self-important producer Harold Hecuba, the man who staged Hamlet on a beach with grass skirts, giving the show one of its most beloved bizarre episodes. His timing was perfect, his ego hilarious, and even though he appeared only once, it felt like he had always been part of the chaos. He died in 1985, but fans still quote him when they talk about the show's silliest high points. Another guest you might not name at first, but you would know the face, the voice, and the way he could steal a scene without trying, Vito Scotti. He showed up 4 times, sometimes as the wild-eyed mad scientist Dr. Boris Balinkoff and sometimes as the lost Japanese sailor. He changed shape so well you could forget it was the same actor. He died in 1996 from lung cancer, but the joy he brought to those episodes still pops like a firecracker. If you ever think, "Wait, I know that guy," you were probably thinking of Vito Scotti. When we talk about these actors, we are not only listing dates and roles. We are remembering a kind of television that felt small and friendly, the kind you could watch with grandparents, parents, and kids in the same room. Gilligan's Island was silly, yes, but it was also safe. It gave us a world where a group of strangers became a family. The skipper protected them. Gilligan tried hard, failed often, and kept trying anyway. The Howells showed that money means little without love. The professor said it's okay to use your head. And Mary proved that kindness is power, even when there is no way off the island. People sometimes ask why a simple show from the 1960s still gets love today. The answer is easy. It is about hope. The boat never gets fixed for long, the raft never makes it far, and the radio keeps breaking, but they still wake up the next day and try again. That steady, cheerful rhythm matched the actors themselves. Most of them faced illness or age with calm grace. They worked, they helped others, and they stayed thankful for a simple half-hour comedy that gave them a place in the hearts of millions. When you learn that Alan Hale Jr.'s remains went to the sea, it feels right. When you hear that Russell Johnson wore a uniform before he wore khakis, you feel proud. When you remember that Dawn Wells met fans with joy right up to her final years, you feel grateful. These are not only TV facts, they are gentle lessons in how to live. If you loved the show as a child, you probably learned small things without noticing. You learned that teams matter. You learned to laugh at trouble, not because it isn't real, but because laughter gives you a little strength. You learned that a mess can be fixed together, that a plan can be simple and still be smart, and that even people who don't agree can share a table and a meal. The actors gave those lessons shape. Think of Jim Backus, making Howell selfish and sweet at the same time, and Natalie Schafer, making Lovey pretentious and loving in the same breath. That balance is hard to play, but they played it every week. There are other faces we could name. Many guests are gone now. Men and women who came for an episode, turned the plot upside down, and left a mark. But tonight we keep our focus on the main crew and the 2 scene stealers we already mentioned, because they tell the whole story. They show how a small cast can feel like a village, how a light script can carry heavy hearts, and how a simple set can feel like home. They also remind us that fame can be gentle. Most of these actors spoke kindly about their time on the island. They were grateful for the work, grateful for the fans, and grateful for each other. So here is your quiet, final roll call. The skipper, steady and strong. Gilligan, clumsy and brave. The millionaire, proud and soft. His wife, elegant and giving. The professor, calm and wise. Mary sweet and steady. And our 2 favorite guests, the loud producer who made Hamlet sing on sand, and the chameleon who could be anyone the story needed. They are gone now, but listen closely and you can still hear them. A laugh from the hut. A shout from the beach. A plan that might work this time. A song rising over the water as the sun goes down. If you are still with me, and I hope you are, thank you for watching to the end. This last part is for you. The island was not a place. It was a feeling, and you helped keep it alive. Every rerun you watched, every quote you kept, every smile you shared when the theme song started, gave these actors a second life. That is the gift fans can give, and you gave it well. Hold on to that warmth. Share your favorite memory in the comments. Tell us which actor's story touched you most. Was it the skipper's final sail, Gilligan's gentle courage, the Howell's odd tenderness, the professor's quiet strength, or Mary Ann's shining heart? Your words will help other fans feel close again, and that is the best tribute we can offer. Please stay to the very last frame of this video for a simple dedication and a moment of silence. If this tribute spoke to you, watch it again with someone you love, and pass the feeling on. Like the video, subscribe for more gentle memorials, and ring the bell so you don't miss the next visit to classic TV shores. Thank you for keeping these castaways in your heart. On this island of memories, they never truly left us.